everybody's doing great. So my big bro called again, and he was telling me about his daughter. And when she was like 9 or 10, he was doing a 30-year sentence, and then he got out when she was about 20 years old. And she lived in a different city, but she would go to El Paso to visit her family, and then she would stop and see him and his mother, and they built a bond, a relationship, and that him and the baby mama, they always got along. But then one day she got mad at him, and she quit talking to him, and so that changed the dynamics of the relationship between him and his daughter. And the daughter's always going to take the mom's side in a thing like that. So he didn't really hear from her no more, the daughter. But she recently sent his mother a picture, and she's been at her job like 8, 9 years. She has her own home, and so she's looking for to start the relationship again and get to know him and all that. And he's waiting for her address from the mom. So then he was telling me about how, like, the gang, they would have church, misa, church, and they would meet different locations, and they would act like they were having a cookout or whatever. And but the kids would be there, the wives, but that the leaders would walk off, and they'd have their meeting, and they'd give their orders there of who was to do what. But that my bro would never go to the meetings because of the RICO Act. He knew the consequences of it. So he said he would meet only a few of them. He would go to like a bar or a club, and they would show up and then tell him what he was supposed to do. And so when he had got arrested, he was awaiting to see where he was gonna go. He was like in a holding, the prison where you go before they're gonna send you out to where you're gonna be. And that the feds would come, and they were interrogating them because the gang had killed some people in Juarez, a family. And so they were interrogating all these guys, all the members, and they told him that they had him, they had pictures of him with all the members, and that he was in the middle of all the members giving them orders. And the lady's like, I have that in the manila folder right here, the picture. And she said, what would you say if I pull it out and show you? And that he told her, he's like, or she said, what would you do if I told you I have a picture of you surrounded by all your bros and giving orders? And he said, well, what I'll say is you're a liar. He says, because I know that didn't ever happen. I know you don't have pictures of me like that. Because he's a very intelligent man. So he said, you're a liar, and don't ever come back to visit me because I won't come out of my cell next time. And that she never came back. And he told her, he goes, you indict me on whatever you want to indict me on, And they didn't indict him on that. He didn't serve time for that. But he's doing 2 12s. And so consecutive. So he's got to do a 12-year sentence and then do another 12-year sentence. And he's on number 16 right now out of 24. But, he says sometimes you have to defend yourself and fight. Or he used to drink, and then they would smell alcohol on him and give him more time. So he caught more time than the 24 years. They've added some time on it. But again, he sees them next month. So, again, I pray that God's will be done in his life. And so his brother, they gave him concurrent time, so he only had to do like 12 years, I think. But he did it all in one shot. And Danny got like I think it was a 60-year or something. They got it down to 24, and now he's on 16. And so he was asking me what stories I remember of him, and I was telling him. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And I was like, well, I heard, he was a capo in Juarez. And he's like, yeah, in the Centro, where that's the most violent part of Juarez. And the capos there, they have to collect taxes. They have to collect payments from all the businesses. And if the businesses don't pay, well, they either get killed or blown up, or their families get killed, something like. They're gonna pay. They don't have a choice whether they want to pay or not. And if they don't pay, they die, or their loved ones die, or all of them die, like them and their loved ones. And so these capos go around collecting the money from all the bars and businesses. Every business in that area pays the gang, the cartel. Otherwise, they die or they get shut down, and then they get killed. So he was in charge of that, and that's why they were trying to get him for the murders of that family, because he was running Juarez at the time when those people got killed. So the other story I had heard was there were so many stories I've heard of him, growing up. And when he got out, like I said before, I was in Job Corps, so I would only get out on weekends, and he'd party on the weekends. So we didn't really ever get to hang out or see each other, very much, like not enough to even know each other like that. He was always locked up, and when he did get out, he's been in prison 5 times. The first time he went in was, I think he said what, let me see, I know I wrote it down somewhere. Sorry, where did I put that at? I just wrote it down. The first time he was arrested, I think he said he was, right here. He was 18, and he went in for burglary, residential burglary. And let's see what else. So he was asking me about what, the stories I've heard about him. And when I told him about Juarez, he said, yeah, he confirmed, yeah, it's true. And then when I asked him about, one time he went to a strip club. He had just got out. He got out, and like in a month or two, he had already like 60 burglaries, I think, or more. So they were already after him. The FBI was already after him. They were just built. The FBI will follow you for a while until they have enough evidence to just lock you away. Like, you go to court and you're not going to win that case because they have so much against you. And so during that time that he was out, he was only out for like 1 to 3 months, if that. And he burglarized all them places, and so they were looking for him. And him and a crazy biker that lived a few houses from me, they went to a strip club, and my bro put a bunch of change in the girl's thong, and she slapped him. And the biker came back to the neighborhood and was like, I won't ever go out with him again. I won't ever go anywhere with him. He's too crazy. I guess he was joking and put the change in her thong, and she slapped him. And according to the biker and according to him, he beat the shit out of everybody in the bar, all the bouncers, and they were begging him to leave at the end. They were like, please just go. I guess he beat the strippers, the bouncers, everybody there. And they begged him to leave, and then he finally left. His friend finally was like, come on, bro, let's go. Like, they're going to call the cops. And so they took off. And like I say, that friend came straight back to the barrio and was like, I'm never going to party with him again. He's too wild. And another story I heard is when he X'd out of the gang, because he did 15 years solitary confinement for being a gang member. And his brother did 11 years for being a gang member. They put them in solitary, and he got out. And then when he got sent back, he told the gang, he's like, I can't do another stretch in solitary. He's like, I won't be able to make it. And so he went to a program to get out of the gang. You have to like get a certificate and all this. You're denouncing your gang. And so when he did that, some 3 young guys were trying to get rank in the gang, so they were heading towards his cell. And I don't know if I've told this story, I might have. And his best friend was like, hey, where you guys going? And they're like, oh, we're going to go kill him. And that the friend goes, well, okay, but at least one of you is going to die. He's like, probably all three of you are going to die tonight. What? And he's like, he's going to kill at least one of you, probably all three of you. And so they turned right back around and went back to their cell. And he's like, yeah, he confirmed that. He remembered that. And then the other story, before I joined the Army, we used to go party out in the desert at his sister's house. And we used to fight out there. Like, we'd leave people we'd leave people laying in the dirt out there. And so one year, we were all out there partying, and my neighbor, who was my sister's sister-in-law, and she was a few years younger than me, but we grew up together kind of because, I'd known her. We were like, I was like 18 at the time, and I was 10 when I met her, so, or even younger, because my sister had married her brother, so we knew each other growing up. And she dated this guy. He was a huge guy. I guess he's a state police now, a sheriff. And he was huge kid. He was like a couple years younger than me, a year or two younger than me, but he was gigantic. He was like all state running back or linebacker or whatever. I don't remember. And we were at this party, and them two were together, and all him and all his jock friends, and it was all me and all my homeboys from the barrio. And so there was a lot of people out there. And my sister's sister-in-law, she threw a smoke bomb at me. And I was like, oh yeah? So I picked it up and threw it back at her. And the boyfriend got all mad and got in my face. And I was like, dude, well, let's go. Like, let's go. And he wouldn't fight me. And I was like, dude, that's like my little sister, punk. And then, so I was telling him, let's go, dude. You don't disrespect me like that. And he's like, no. He wouldn't fight me. And so, the next year, and I ended up fighting that guy weeks or months after that because of another mutual friend. So, and I was already going to the Army at this time. So a few months or whatever, a few weeks or months later, I was already going to the Army. And then I told my friend, man, I want to fight one last time before I go in the Army, because I don't want to fight in the Army and get arrested and get kicked out. So I'm not going to fight, anymore. And then that guy pulled up to her house, and me and my friend were on downers. We couldn't find no weed, no pot, no marijuana, so we were popping downers, and I was all messed up on downers. I had never done them before, and I don't even know how many. I popped a couple, and I was wasted. And so we're sitting in front of my house, and that guy pulled up with his other friend, and then my friend goes, hey, there he is, go get him. And I was like, what? He goes, you want to fight? Go get him. I go, not right now, dude. I'm wasted. I want to fight, but not right now. So my friend walked over and started a fight with the other guy. The other guy slammed my friend on his head, so I ran over and punched that guy off. So the big guy came after me, and we were fighting. And I remember, I threw a punch, and I swear to God, I was looking at my face. I was looking at his face and looking at my fist, like that's how fast the punch went. And then I was all tired because he just kind of leaned back, and I missed him, and I was like, so he grabbed me, and I just held on, and I remember he was trying to hit me in the back of the head, and I was just holding on to him. And finally, they broke us up, and my friend goes, hey, he has keys in his hand. And when I looked, the guy who had keys, he was punching me in the head with the keys, but I was so wasted I couldn't feel it. So I was like, oh yeah. So I was like, all right, let's go. And then I tried to kick him, and I kicked, and I could barely even lift my foot. And so it was kind of like a half kick like that, and I was like all out of breath. He grabbed me again, so I just held on again. And then that's when he was hitting me, and then they broke us up the second time, and that's when my friend goes, he has keys. I was like, oh really? So I would always wear leather belts with big heavy belt buckles, because I would take the belt off and crack people with it. So I was like, oh yeah. So I took the belt off, but by that time, my bro's little brother, my carnal, came running up, and I was gonna swing the belt, and then the guy that started the fight, my friend, was like, no, So either him or my carnal grabbed the belt from me, and then they swung it at him, and the guy put my sister-in-law in front of him, and it like barely, it like grazed her face, and I was like, oh shit. Her dad jumped in, and oh, so it was the guy who started the fight. My friend, my homeboy, he's dead now. Rest in peace. He got the belt and swung. He took it from me, and then he swung it at the guy, and the guy put the girl in front of him, and it barely grazed her. So her father pushed my friend. He grabbed my friend. So my carnal, my bro's little brother, came and punched the dad, who was my sister's father-in-law. And I was like, no, like, and my sisters and nephews were there. Everyone saw the whole thing, and my parents were in California, and so my sister's mother-in-law was like, "You should be ashamed of yourself, Paul. I'm gonna tell your parents when they get home." I was like, "Damn, like I'm in trouble, man. Like now everybody hates me, you know." And so my nephews always laugh, my sisters always laugh, and my nephews laugh at me. Oh, you can't fight, because that's the first fight they ever seen me fight. I was on downers. I could not fight that day if I wanted to. I tried, and the girl even was like, "Oh, Paul, you're tough," because like the guy was trying to hurt me, and like he would beat up other people, but he couldn't get me on the floor. And I was like, man, thankfully I had enough experience to like fight, even though I was like wasted. So anyway, then I went to the army shortly afterwards. So the next year, and that was on the 4th of July, that party at my bro's house, sister's house. That's why she threw the smoke bomb at me, the sister-in-law. So anyway, the next year, all my homeboys went back again to party on the next 4th of July, but I was already off at war, Gulf War. And so all the jocks showed up, and my homeboys, they didn't have any weapons because they thought, oh, we're just gonna go out there, you know, and hang out at the sister's house. So the jocks showed up with all kinds of weapons, and they beat the crap out of my bros. And so my carnal, the little brother, they knocked his teeth out. He had gorgeous teeth, beautiful, perfect teeth, and they knocked his teeth out. So he went home and he was telling the big bro, hey man, you know, you gotta go with me so we could get these guys. And the mother had told my big bro, like, hey, stay out of it. That's kid stuff. You stay out of it. You know, you don't need any problems. And one day he got drunk, and the little bro came up and was like, yeah, I thought you said you would always have my back, blah, blah, blah. So the big bro goes, you know what? Where they live? And he goes, well, down the street over there. Across the main street was another barrio, and we were rivals, we were enemies at that time, and that's where they lived. And so the big bro goes, come on, go get a bat. And so the little bro went and got the bat, and they went to those guys' house. And the big bro knocked on the door, and he's like, hey man, you know who lives in the next door? You know, I want to buy that car that, you know, they have the for sale sign on. And the guy goes, nah, they're there. If the cars are there, they're there. And he goes, well, I knocked and they didn't answer. And he's like, no, they're there. And he goes, by the way, what's your name? And when he told him his name, the little brother had told him both names of the both guys. They were brothers. Those two were brothers. The ones that knocked out the little bro's teeth were brothers. And so when my big bro asked those guys, like, what's your name? And the guy told him his name, and my big bro had vice grips in his pocket, and he pulled them out and cracked the guy in the face, and the guy just fell back, and the big bro just got on him and was just bashing this guy's face in. And the other brother came running to get him off, but my little bro was hiding. And so when the guy came to push my big bro off, the little bro got him in the head with a bat, and then they were just pounding these guys. And so when my big bro finally got arrested, because they were already looking for him anyway, he had already had like 60 burglaries or something, and he was gonna do time. They were just a matter of time before he got caught. And so when they arrested him, they threw those charges on him too. Even though those guys didn't press charges, the cops picked up the case and threw it on him, and that's how he ended up with like a 60-year. Besides all the robberies, that threw them at 60 years, and if they boiled that down to the 24. And so he remembers those stories, you know. And I was like, I always looked up to the guy. We all did. Well, most of us did. And, you know, it's just, so those were the stories, you know, that he confirmed. And I already knew they were true. I had heard anyway. And so I did ask him in the first time he was arrested in 1979 for burglary. He was 18 years old, and he did 5 years, like I said. So next time, I'm gonna find out. You know, he did 5 sentences. I'm gonna ask him if he remembers how long they were. He's got a great memory, and then how he became a capo, a shot caller. That's another question. And so, why does he confirm that for me? And I'm gonna ask him how he got in the gang, when and where he got in the gang. And I'm gonna ask him when his first fight was ever, his first fight, and then his last fight, and the first crime he ever committed. I guess it was burglary. Who knows if he had ever done anything before them, you know? But first time he got caught was for burglary. So that's the update. He's gonna call again tomorrow, and you know, I'll get some more stories from him. And eventually I want to talk to his mother. She didn't ever like me. In fact, like I said in another video, she warned him when she found out that I wanted to talk to him and all that. She was like, be careful because Paul's crazy. And I'm like, this man's doing 24 years out of a 60-year sentence. But I'm the crazy one, you know. She remembers me from when I was young. She could not stand me. Her son was not allowed to hang out with me, the little brother. But we were best friends. We hung out behind her back. But yeah, she warned him that I'm crazy. And like I might have said in another video, everyone introduces me that way. Oh, this is my son, he's crazy. This is my brother, he's crazy. You know, so I'm used to it. But it's funny that she's warning this ex-shot caller about me. So yeah, he's gonna call back tomorrow, and we'll see what else, you know, I can post. And again, I'm doing this to try to keep youth, you know, youth that are the way I used to be, to try to keep them from joining, because that was my goal. My goal was to become a shot caller like that. And thank God my path changed. And like I said, my dad kicked me out at 18. I had nowhere to go. I went to Job Corps, and I knew I had to graduate because I had nowhere to go. I graduated and I joined the Army while I was in Job Corps. I signed up for the Army so that when I got out of Job Corps, I went straight to basic training. And I'm glad I did that. Of course, I ended up with cancer from it, but you know, it was either die or go to prison, or join the Army and go to war. You know, it was. I took my chances with the Army. I figured, well, at least I'll get benefits and blah blah blah. And either way, it wasn't. Neither of those choices were good choices. I should have pursued. I went to school for welding. I should have just pursued that. But I joined the Army, you know, to kill people, and you know, yeah, that was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. And so I regret it. I regret it every day. And I think, you know, right now my son's not letting me see my grandson, and I was so mad about it, so hurt. And then the other day I felt God tell me, like, what about those guys that we killed during the war? He's like, they never saw their grandsons, they never saw their wives or their kids or their mothers, and I kind of thought, wow, like karma, you know. Maybe not, but that's how I feel, like it was karma. So I kind of feel like even the cancer's karma for everything I did. And maybe it's not, but that's how I feel, you know, like I'm paying for what I did. And I know Jesus has forgiven me, and so I'm saved, so I don't worry about that. And I encourage anyone out there that if you're on drugs, if you're an alcoholic, if you're, you know, a gangbanger, a criminal, and you're out there hurting people, or you want to, what you really want is the Holy Spirit. That's That feeling of getting high and that's temporary. When you find God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, that's forever, man. Until you decide you don't want it no more. And then when you decide that, things are going to get 10 times worse. So once you get God, once you're with God and you get the Holy Spirit, stay that way. And it's not always an easy walk. Sometimes to get there, the devil's going to throw everything he can at you to see how much you really love God. And so the trials might come and they might get bad, but you got to have faith. You got to stick with it. Just how you want to get in a gang and it's for life and blah blah blah. Get in God's gang and do that for life, because that takes more heart, more toughness than any gang in the world. Being a born again Christian and living a good life. Someone slaps you and you turn around and say, "Here, slap me here too." No gangbanger's tough enough to do that or brave enough to do that. So you want to be tough, like I say, go get into boxing or karate or MMA, jiu-jitsu, start competing. That's tough. When you can do that, then you're tough. Even if you lose, you're still tough. If you get back in there again and do it again, even if you lose every fight you ever fight, you're still tough in my book. And if you're a born again Christian and you're staying away from the crime and you're staying away from all your old homeboys and all the drugs and all that, that's tough. It's easy to be with your homeboys and be with the crowd and party and commit crimes. That's easy. It's very easy. Anyone can do that. Doesn't even take a brain to do that. Doesn't take any bravery to do that. Hurting somebody, that's not brave. But walking away, turning the other cheek, staying away from that's hard. That is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, especially when you're an addict or you're a criminal or you're raised violently and you're into violence. To walk away from that is the hardest thing you can ever do. That's the bravest thing and the toughest thing you can ever do. Continuing to do it, big deal. So what? It's not impressive. Not at all. You might think it is. Oh, blah, blah. It ain't. It's nothing. Nothing. Anyone can do that. And so, I say, staying away from that's when you know you're tough. Competing in the ring or the cage or the mat, that's when you're tough. And you're really tough then. So, that's the purpose of these vlogs, is to, here's a ex-shot caller, regrets everything he's done, regrets all the prison time he's done and all the loved ones, all the time he's missed with his loved ones, his daughter, his mother. He regrets that. Losing his wife, losing his house. He regrets it tremendously. Me going to war, all the violence in El Paso, I regret it. I cry to this day. And I've asked God for forgiveness. I've asked Jesus for forgiveness. And I believe I'm forgiven. But I still, the guilt, the shame, there's times I just cry and think, man, like, you know, I poked a guy's eye out here in the front of my front yard. And, you know, I almost beat people, try to kill them, and beat them to death, trying to drown them in puddles while I'm choking them. And now when I think about that, I cry, because those were children of God. I had no right to do that. No matter how, you know, they disrespected me, or it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That poor man can't see right because I pulled his eye out. Popped it back in, but he still can't see right out of that. I don't even know if he can see out of it. You know, and all these other guys, the guy almost drowned in a puddle, the trauma that I caused that poor man. And none of it was worth anything. Here I almost pulled the guy. I did pull the guys out over my sister. She went right back to the guy after that. I went to jail and she went right back to the dude. So, you know, someone messes with your family, I'm gonna go kill him. Don't do it. Don't do it, because especially for a sister, she's probably gonna go right back to the guy. You know, he beat her up. Okay, let it go. Work on your sister. Don't hurt her, but help her see the light to stay away from people like that, so that you don't get put in those positions. I could have went to prison for that. I did go to jail, but thankfully the guy dropped the case. Otherwise, I wouldn't have went to prison. The guy tried to drown. Thankfully, I got out of that. I could have easily went to prison for that. And so many other times where I should have went to prison for those things. Using a weapon at the bar or whatever, like severely beating people. Like I should have went to prison for those things, and thank God I didn't. God spared me from all that. But man, I still feel bad, and there's days it hits me. Everything that happened during the war killed 80,000, over 80,000 people in the war, and it's like all the families we destroyed. You know, as a kid, I thought it was cool. I thought, yeah. When I was young, I thought it made me tough. I thought it made me cool, or I thought it made me a badass. It doesn't, man. Not at all. Not at all. So, this is coming from me, an OG, a combat warrior. This is coming from a ex-shot caller. It's not worth it. We both agree on that it's not worth it. We both agree, kids, stay away from it. Don't join. And if you're in, get out. And if you think you can't get out, well, there's ways for you to get out. That don't make you a punk. That makes you strong. If you can walk away from that, that's when you're tough. That's when you're strong. When you can resist that urge to get high or to hurt somebody or to steal something. When you can resist that, that's when you're strong. That's when you're tough. That's when you're a gangster. That's when you're an OG. All that other crap, nah, it's not worth it. And anyone that tells you different, they're a liar. Because misery loves company. They're miserable on the inside because they're seeking Jesus and the Holy Spirit, but yet they don't want to quit the drugs or the drinking or the crime or the violence. So it's easier to just keep doing that. It's easier to do that than it is to give all that up for God and Jesus. So I hope this reaches the right people. And for anyone else that don't come at me disrespect or talking smack. I'm not even going to reply to it. I'll just block you and delete you. Because you're obviously not an OG. You might think you are, but you're out here not. Because OGs protect their people. And that's what I'm doing. I'm protecting my people. I'm protecting the youth from making our same mistakes. And anyone that's trying to recruit youth, man, you're a chump, man. You're weak. You're weak. And, I got nothing to lose. I got stage 4 cancer, so don't come at me like you're gonna try to threaten me or scare me. Don't threaten me with a good time. That's what I gotta say. So I hope everyone's doing great. I hope this reaches the right people. And if you've watched this far, please hit the like button or hit the thumbs down button. I don't care. Hit one of them. If you watch this much, hit one of those buttons. It's the right thing to do. It's the least you can do. If you've watched it this far, if you agree, hit the like button. If you don't agree, hit the unlike button, the thumbs down button. Hit something, all right? So, God bless you all. Stay awesome, and I'll be back maybe tomorrow. I don't know. So. If you don't mind, share the videos once they start coming in. Once we start getting the good meat, of what his messages are. And so, stay cool. God bless you all. Bye. Peace.